think it's recorded.
Yeah, it says it is in the corner. Okay.
Perfect.
Hello, welcome to the Rally and Cry podcast. You're joined by myself, Liam, and Dan, as always.
Hello.
Hello. Sorry, it's been a little while. Dan went on holiday again.
It's not been that long.
I hope everyone is well. Yeah, so let's jump into it. We'll start off, as always, with a bit of hobby/game recap for the last couple of weeks. Maybe not so much for me and Dan, but I'm sure Liam's got some as always. So Liam, do you want to jump us straight in?
Okay, right, Dan, will you do the honours, please?
Do you want me to do the honours and add you to the stage? There you go.
Yeah, please. So, for those who don't know, I said it last week, so again, I write for Goonhammer, and Games Workshop very generously sent us over some of the new Cathay releases.
Are you sure these weren't sent to the Rally and Cry podcast and you just...
I'm very sure.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
definitely.
I'm sure we've got enough subs now.
Maybe for kids left, eh?
Yeah.
So I had a very frantic 10 days of painting, because we sent them up before that, but they go to somebody else, and then we divvy them up as a group with who's doing what, and then I got some of them sent out. So I managed to get done 15 Jade Warriors, one of the artillery pieces in the Fire Rain rocket battery, complete with an ogre, and one unit of 6 Jade Lancers.
So
random number.
Yeah, how many points of an army is that then? Do you reckon?
It's about 100.
600?
About entire battalion 700 without any upgrades. So
Okay.
That's probably close to 500, give or take, with the
So you could do a small
Magister I
fire.
also painted. Yeah.
Okay.
You've done a really good job on them as well, Liam.
Yeah, for 10 days, it's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah, I've not been out and played any games at all since I got my hands on them. Literally every night I've been put the kids to bed and occasionally watching hours of TV with Leanne and then paint.
You've not had a chance to actually try them out on the tabletop yet.
Exactly right.
Hey, if you get these privileges, you got to work for them, right?
Yeah.
They do indeed. But yeah, played a couple of online games just to actually be able to write the review. But we got the book a little bit before the models, so I was able to quickly do that on those experiences and then just concentrate on these. I know it was picked up in one of the community articles, but the amount of transfers you get with them.
Oh, isn't it like 400 or something outrageous?
Oh, I think that the new one they've got coming out later in the year is 400 odd transfers, but I don't know how many.
Yeah, the one you can buy is the 400 one, isn't it? I think. But I think a lot of the battalions have got them in, like a decent whack ones. I think I've got some of the Empire ones. Like there's loads on that.
Oh, there's double to triple the amount.
That, yeah, even better than. Yeah.
On the Cathay ones, there's just.
Is it just banners that it doesn't look like there's huge amounts of space on like the models to put them on.
So it's for things like the tassels they've got that come down all of them, like the robes. You've got one for that. You've got big long ones to go around things. You've got
right, okay.
They're all labelled up with what you can use them for, but there are absolutely loads. The amount of detail that's gone into them.
Onto yours?
Aim is to get these done for Dan's 2,000 point event in a few weeks. So quickly trying to get through what I've got of these, and then pick up my models from Bash in week and a bit's time at the time of recording, and try and do the remaining bits that I need to get an army on the table.
7 balloons.
Nah, there's still one balloon in the list. And then I also think reveal at the weekend. I've also got this chap done. So it's all finished now. Broke out the airbrush for the first time. And get that glaze over the wings to make it a bit softer. I tried painting it and it didn't look like. But I think it looks a lot better in terms of actually just blending in a lot more and being correct.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I've heard a lot of YouTubers try and say this name. How would you pronounce it? Because
Shugengen.
Shugengen, yeah, that's how I'd say it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've got Shugengen. I've heard all sorts. I'm just like, oh my god, it's really not that. Come on, guys, read the letters, read the word.
I think that's the issue a lot of time. People will read the first couple of letters, the last couple of letters, and then just
Yeah.
bang the middle of the word in. Say
Yeah.
a lot of other things as well.
That's how the human brain works, isn't it? As long as you can read,
Charybdis
you
is
do
a
the-
funny one, which I've heard a lot of weird pronunciations.
Charybdis.
Yeah.
Caribis, I think I've heard someone say before. Caribis. Yeah, because
Yeah, it looks awesome.
Because even it's spelled Shugengen Lord, isn't it? That's the thing.
So
Yeah.
how do you find
lovely
these
model.
to build, Liam?
So they are modern Games Workshop kits in that
Over-engineered.
I think over-engineered, but they'll have bits that link into other bits, and you kind of have to do them in the right order. If you don't, you end up ripping parts off you've already glued together.
I saw someone talked about the Sentinel.
Yeah,
and,
I've seen that as well.
Just loads of crosses out in the like arrows drawn from like step 4 to step 17 and stuff like that, and just
But so what I tend to do when I'm building them is kind of like maybe go 5 or 6 steps in a row, lay out, step out those 5 or 6 steps, and then kind of dry fit them, make sure they're working, and start working my way through them. But like this one, you have to do that because there's quite a lot of parts.
Is there much scope for sub-assemblies with these? The newer models, and obviously, so me and you, Liam, we both played Realm Lords and like the cavalry. The legs are on the actual horse's body, aren't they, and stuff like that.
I'm trying to remember. I don't think they are on this. I think the horses are separate to the men, so you can do the horses and the men separately. But like the models are quite, like, it's gonna be really, really bad, but like underneath and stuff is quite a decent gap between shield and the body.
So you
can build and then paint them, and that's good.
Yeah, I don't think you need to leave the shields off or anything like that.
No, I mean I normally would anyway, because I think a lot of the shields are already have the detail on them, don't they? Rather than
it's made like that. There's no need to put transfers or anything on top of them. But
that's awesome.
They're really cool, and like we're all in like a fighting ready pose, the Jade Warriors. So you kind of, that is the way it works together. And we do have arms that go on certain bodies, but the arms are stacked up. So with a little bit of planning, you could get some different poses. And if I just go back to, you can see the one on the front right corner of that unit. Is kind of positioned differently, so it's kind of amended from the normal fighting pose. So I like to round out my units on both sides, rather than it being.
I was actually going to say about because I know obviously you've used Dark Oath, haven't you, for your Wolves of the Sea. In a strange way, it's going to be weird for me because they're obviously built in the era around obviously AOS and stuff like that. So obviously the manufacturing's a lot more advanced to what the older ones were, where they were basically one piece. It's going to be really strange because these are obviously going to be manufactured for ranking up on square bases, whereas obviously your Dark Oath Savages aren't.
The only bit I had to be careful of in this was the one that's directly behind the unit champion, which is arguably the best model in that entire box set.
He stood back up.
The champion's cool.
What it is something like a castle comes off his back, off a guy's back.
Right.
So you have to put the one behind it slightly further back on the base than the rest of them.
Okay.
You won't tell obviously when it's all ranked up. But like literally the back foot's on the back of the base to be able to fit it on. And maybe I just built the champion a little wrong, but that's roughly it. And the other bit to be aware of is, I know you've got a box on order, haven't you, Dan? When you do the missiles, the war machines, you need 3 hands to glue it all together. So I'd recommend doing it in sub-assemblies and like not gluing it all on until after you painted, because you've got like
people
pushing them in together.
But
apart from that, they're actually really good. They're much easier than the Dark Oath, for example, that you just mentioned.
As long as you don't have to put like faces on helmets like you do for the Middle Earth Rohan Warriors.
So that's
Nowhere near that.
That's the transfer on the banner on there, right?
Yes, that is definitely not me freehanding.
Spoiled it.
You've had a busy,
I do like all the
busy fortnight.
transfers. Sorry, Jack.
Yeah, no, it looks like he's had a busy fortnight then with these pressures.
Yeah, I'll be back in 1 second while one of you two talks about your hobby.
Yeah, there we go.
Child shouting.
Go back one and I'll talk about my hobby.
Go back. Cool.
There we go.
Go on then, Jack.
Yeah.
What have you been doing?
So I have been quite busy. I got married last week.
Why are you doing this, Jack? Jack, what is this?
So
Corpse
we
cart?
obviously got some matched play guide last week. So
I think it is just important to say, actually, Jack, that we obviously don't get preview copies. Liam's only privy to that because of the Goonhammer thing. But both the Cathay and the match play guide got leaked last week as a recording, so a good 3 weeks before release.
Yeah.
So I think pretty much everyone's got access to this, hence why we're just about to go into what Jack's been doing.
Yeah. So
just to put a bit of caveat on that.
Yeah. So we obviously saw the sort of rumors. Well, not rumors, just full on leaks of the match play guide. And yeah, we've got the supply. What do you call it? Supply wagons.
Baggage
train.
Baggage trains. There we go. That's the word. So in my excitement, I had a nice baggage train in box somewhere from Dungeons and Lasers, and rather than building it up nice and pretty, decided to just take it a bit different route than other people and go for a post pillage train, following a sort of ambush from some beast men. So I'm just in the process of working through finishing that off. But I'm quite happy with where it's going so far. But yeah, other than that, I've not really been up to much. I was busy.
Do you know what you need on that base, Jack? And I can probably supply it. You need a Johan running away.
Yeah, actually, that's not a bad shout. There's just not much, like, even though 60 by 100 is a pretty decent size base, by the time like that wagon's on there, there's just very little space. So maybe on like the back corner I could fit him on, but
well, especially because it's on its side as well. Obviously, the footprint obviously got bigger, hasn't it?
Yeah. So trying to.
I've actually bought. I bought 3 one, but like they're just MDF ones because I want to do like a Forces of Fantasy one and an Evil one. Ravening Hordes, whatever it is, and then I've got a Cathay one because me and Liam had a conversation a couple of days ago. And where do Cathay actually fit? Are they Forces of Fantasy? Are they Ravening Hordes? Because technically they are not in either book.
No,
they're not. But I think we're at the point now where
they've got to be fantasy, and Forces of Fantasy.
Yeah, they can ally with all the good guys.
There's an imbalance of good versus bad.
Oh, massively now. Yeah, I think by 3 now. I think.
Yeah. So it's not, is it? So they didn't even try and balance it out.
Yeah, 64. Yeah, it will be. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I sort of similar to Dan. My plan is to try and do something unique for probably every army eventually. But this one will probably just get used for the sort of Ravening Hordes side armies for the time being, while I sort of continue to think of ideas for other sort of mini dioramas for the other armies. Probably just
what I think I'm going to do with mine is actually magnetize the sides and then just use the shields from the armies and just magnetize the shields, and so I can use them for each faction, and possibly magnetize like a bit of crew on them or something like that. Just like you said, just so you've got. I don't because I own every army, as you know. Don't really fancy having all of those baggage trains when I can probably just use 3. So, but there's a really cool Chinese one which I've got for the Cathayan ones, which is really cool. Like I think it's like a peasant wagon type thing. But I've bought that, and hopefully it comes this week actually, because I want to start building and getting it together.
So you own all the armies now, Dan?
All the armies, I know. I mean, I've even to my own, and I think probably Liam's discussed as well. Should we go on to the next page, Liam? This is what I
Yeah,
have done. This is what I have done. And
so, how much did you drop on Cathay, Dan? Or
well, no,
just pay
a lot on
just
Cathay.
pay listen occasionally a little bit. 20 quid,
Just
20
a
quid,
bit.
right?
So I've dropped a lot on Cathay, yeah, and I've gone against my complete, should we say, morals? Let's say. As some of you may not know, me and Liam were kinda against the legacy armies being around. I know it sounds harsh, but I've not played a legacy army yet, and I've gone and bought one like an idiot. So this has been my hobby basically. So
you bought them overpowered one as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've gone pure meta, right? So I actually bought the majority of it from a friend Joe's at the club, and then I just got a couple of eBay bits, and then the 2 Doom wheels are brand new because they had them in the local element in Sheffield. So I thought, oh, I'll grab them. They're cheaper. They're only 26 quid a piece actually, those. So I was like, actually, that's not bad compared to what you think of the new AOS.
They might be good now with the new. Yeah, they might be good now with the new match play. All these unit strength.
Units. They just gone
catching objectives.
Yeah. So, but unfortunately, they were on the 20 mil bases. So that's what I've been doing in terms of hobbies. Rebasing them all to the 25s. And interestingly as well, actually, I think I messaged you actually, didn't I, when I was building one. The Doom wheels, so they were the new boxes with all the new rebranding and stuff on, but they still come with the square bases.
Oh, so it's what? It's
yeah, they still come with chariot base. Yeah, so they're AOS models.
AOS branding, AOS branding, but with square bases.
But they still have square bases in the boxes. So I don't know if that's just me really like putting it out there. Maybe they are coming back because Warhammer isn't the same without Skaven, is it? But and by the way, I don't know anything that's in the future. So before people start,
I think
he knows something.
I think you had squares in there for like 10 years. So
what I do like about that the Doom Wheel kits, you see the pile of rats there. All of those are out of those 2 kits. So I'm like, oh, I've got a unit of giant rats there as well.
Yeah.
Aren't they meant to go in the Doom Wheel?
No, running around, aren't they?
There is, yeah. There's like one-piece ones that go inside each wheel, which has got multiple rats, and I'm assuming these are supposed to be running around. I don't know, but I'm going to use them for another unit. So yeah, and then the only thing I've actually added to this army, what I've had to build myself, was the spare clan rat. The spare storm vermin on the left-hand side. I've just had to make into a BSB, because I would assume they need to re-roll a lot of leadership tests being rats.
They're quite high leadership. So like,
well, they have horde, don't they? So technically, they do have quite high leadership. But yeah, that's been my hobby, apart from obviously being on holiday and stuff. I've not really done much. Although I did buy Warhammer. I actually got, like a child, a started painting set thing because I need the clippers. Like I refuse to pay £30 for a set of clippers when I can pay 23 for loads of paint, some clippers, and a mold line remover. So that's what I did last time.
Have you made any progress with your stag lords that I went and bought for you?
He's built.
That'll be a no.
He's built and sprayed, and I actually used him in the game that week. You sent him actually, Jack. So yeah, before we did the last podcast, actually, wasn't it? So yeah, I did actually use him in a game. He's really good, but the rest of the combat stuff isn't in the Wood Elves. So he's kind of on his own a lot. But I was fighting dwarves, so it's one of those. But yeah, the combos you can do with them are really, really good. And I think I want another one as well. You can put a captain on one as well, can't you?
Yeah.
So you can have the toughness buff one, and then the all-out combat one. So I'm gonna try and run both in a list, but we'll see. We'll see if they've got them in stock ever again. Yeah, so that was my hobby since we've been. So yeah, not really much just buying, and then obviously, as Jack alluded to at the start, I've dropped a lot on Cathay. I'm nearing £400 now, if not on £400.
And you know, when we sort of first saw that they were coming out and we were discussing how much we'd need to set aside, we probably assumed a lot more. Like,
absolutely,
they're actually really good prices, I think, for what they've sort of come out with. Apart from the balloon, which seems a bit. I know it's a very big model, but it just seems very expensive.
It suffers from the same as the War Wagon does, where because you're getting a character model in it, they stuck on 15, 20 quid.
Yeah.
I think as well, because of the pricing in terms of the points as well, and we'll get into it in a bit, but they are really good. I think it's one of those where, they actually are really good. They're quite cheap, so you can run multiple of them. Here we go.
They'll hike
money.
The prices.
Yeah. So I think that's the thing sometimes, like, people need to remember that GW are a business before anything else. It's terrible to say, but that is what it is, isn't it? So it makes perfect sense. If something's good, people will buy it, and that's sometimes unfortunately how it goes, right? Chasing the meta and all that.
Yeah. I'm still convinced that most people won't take more than 2 in a list, just because I've got no idea how on earth you get them from A to B if you're taking more than that.
Yeah, just actual real life problems, not carrying on the tabletop. Yeah. I mean.
So what did you pick up then, Dan? What is your order?
What did I order? So I've got 2 battalions, a Shigangan Lord, basically one of everything, but two battalions. And I'm thinking I'm going to order another lantern. And the book, and then obviously so the book, the dice, and the match play gathering on with that £400 as well. So I've done all right, I think. But I've definitely got more than 2k worth of points. I think, Liam, did you say it was like around 700 without upgrades for the battalions?
Yeah, the battalion's 700 without a single upgrade. But when you've got things like ogres of 43 points with the bombs each, so that's another 100. You've got 3 sets of command for the warriors, 2 sets of command for the Jade Lancers. You've got magic item allowances. You can easily make 1,000 points out of that box if you need to.
Yeah, and that's before obviously you start adding characters and
special
lanterns and sentinels and whatever else. I mean, I were always going to do it anyway. Since they were announced, I'm like, that's me, because again, ties into the whole Total War thing. I've been playing them on that as well, so I was like, absolutely. And then obviously they dropped the bombshell. That's the only thing they're bringing out so far. Apart from Miao Ying.
Journal.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm not disappointed about it personally, but I think it's one of those where I think, Liam, you made an actual really good point in one of the Discords where it's almost like they're releasing it like Votan and stuff like that, where it's here's a good bit, and then they'll wait a few months, then a little bit sneaky, and then something else, right?
So but like Games Workshop, whenever they've released a new army over the last 4 or 5 years, have kind of done it by releasing a box set of stuff and then stuff to go with it. A bit later, they break down that box set into its individual components and the character that's in the AOS ones or the 40k one. And then the next time they get an army book, in the same way that it happened in 6, 7, 8, you maybe get 1 or 2 new units and a new character. And I'm sure this will be the same. But what I imagine they also want to do is keep people buying in regularly. So me and you have spent a load of money on this new one, but what we'll do now is they'll release something else in between, where they, say it's Orcs and Goblins, and you get a new Night Goblin character or whatever, and that comes in November. Then everyone who's got an Orc and Goblin army can then pick up that new character and that new Night Goblin unit. And then come Easter or next summer, they might go to Dwarves. And then near Christmas, you might get more Cathay. And suddenly, because I've got a Dwarf army and an Orc and Goblin army and a Cathay army, I'm buying on every new release. And it's also, like I say, like you said, you spent 400 odd quid. And you're already planning on what you're buying next.
Yeah.
There's no way you're getting through to Christmas without buying a second balloon, a second Sentinel, a second Shigugan. They don't need to release more models from a company point of view to keep you buying stuff, because you're already in and you're invested, and then over time you can pick up more stuff.
Yeah. So do we think these sort of second phase journals will just be there to progress the storyline of the old world, or like I don't see what like, or are they just filling in a bit more lore, or like what's?
Well, we said in the article, didn't we, that this Arcane Journal's touching on some kind of invasion fleet, or looked like an invasion fleet.
Yeah, it was like it was like the Raven and Horde version of Cathay, right? So maybe that sense of Cathay isn't actually good or bad. It's just going to have bits. This is the Force of Fantasy army that's just come out, and then there will be a Raven and Horde style army as well.
We say about using Empire mercenaries, don't they, in the army?
Yeah, is it the Jade Fleet? Is it called?
Yeah, but we could have, I'd say, depending on where they're landing, that could be allying with Palatbeck land or with Reichland or with in the Westerland area. And if that's the contact they have, then the War of the Three Emperors starts to kick off a bit more in the background. Like, suddenly do we get forced to pick a side, or God knows? Like, it's all going into unknown, isn't it? So just be interesting to see which way it plays out. And
so maybe it will be a bit of sort of story advancement, somewhat in them, and then I guess we'll sort of start rotating back through the other factions, and as you say, maybe get one special character here, one special character there, and because obviously, in the journals, there's not been huge amounts of there's been a few special characters released, but I'm sure, like, if you look at sort of older editions, most factions will have half a dozen plus special characters.
They will, but that's built up over time, isn't it? It's not.
Yeah. As we get these new journals over the next couple of years and start sort of progressing through the story, we'll start picking up new characters.
Exactly.
As new, a night watchman does something heroic and suddenly becomes Sigmar incarnate and that sort of stuff. So.
Well, do you pay much attention to Age of Sigmar and 40k releases, Jack? Or so what we'll do is, so like IDNF came out, was there maybe 4 years ago, Dan?
Yeah.
And they're on now their effective third wave of releases, and we're getting.
I don't want to wait that long to buy more models.
No, but that's just that one army.
That's just
yeah.
I think that's the other thing as well, isn't it? That's the other thing as well, isn't it? Obviously, they've got all the other game systems that they're progressing and bringing new stuff out for. And I know the different studios, but they've got to have some sort of structure to release it, haven't they? I think the one thing I will say with it is, though, like, going back to the timeline and progressing the story, it's one of those where they've already. It's a bit like the Horus Heresy type stuff, where you already know what happens because the 40k happens, whereas like we already know what happens because we've had the world that was on the end time. So they've got a blank canvas in terms of where they go with these different factions, and like you said, new characters. Maybe the old characters, like technically all of the elf characters from the end times are all alive and kicking. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's good.
I've got that idea that Tyrion and Texas are currently backpacking across the Empire on their probably spring break, and we'll do something at some point. But
I hope so.
I love the idea of this background we mentioned, where like the Empire cities have got Cathay embassies in them.
Yeah,
and they're actually a common sight, and people are used to it. And then
like a dwarf embassy, your Cathay and embassy.
Yeah. Well, they are though, aren't they? I know in Altdorf. I don't think it's the major capital city, is it? As it is in the end times, but they have all the different quarters still, don't they? As a trade city, and is it Marienburg? Is the port city?
Trade one, yeah.
The trade one, yeah. So they'll obviously, like you say, they'll have the Cathayan kind of, because that's what they were, aren't they? The traders. I mean, I don't necessarily know this timeline, but obviously the one from the Tall War, that their main thing is sending off the caravans, which obviously work in tow with the match play guide stuff. Which is, again, it's I like the way it's going at the minute. I like the new armies coming out. Obviously we're waiting for the FAQ/errata. Who knows when that'll drop? It's they didn't necessarily put a date on it either, did they? They just said soon after Cathay, I think it was.
It was come out roughly in the same period as the match play guide. So I think that means any point between, at this point of recording, tomorrow morning and a week and a half after you can actually buy that in a store.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's
sometimes
just a case of what do you think?
Yeah.
Because I managed to drop £100 without even buying any models like at the weekend. So they still managed to make money even without buying a model. Well, no, I tell you, I bought the Beastman BSB before he went out of made to order. But I got the Cathay dice, the cards, the journal, the match play guide. So yeah, I still managed to drop £100 without buying a single model.
Easily done.
Yeah. So shall we progress to talking about Cathay a bit more in not in depth, but a bit more, to explore what we've enjoyed out the journal, what we look forward to seeing on the table, that sort of stuff.
I think at this stage everyone's seen 45 YouTube videos on the full breakdown of Cathay. So rather than
we said this when you disappeared, Liam. We'd said just a caveat all. We don't technically own these things, but everyone's seen them anyway, so it's fine.
So it's fine, and it's like I suggested that what we do is we pick, similar to when the models are revealed, we pick our favourite bit and just go through it, like a bit of detail. So the first person I've got is Dan.
Yes.
And this was his technical explanation of why you want to.
It actually was. But that's it. Do you know what? I think the one thing what people looked at was, it's a balloon, it floats around in the sky. But then until the rules come out, it's a mount for a character that does this, this, and this. And then when you actually see the rules, there's 2 pages of it. So he does a lot of stuff. It's not just a balloon that looks pretty.
No, I think it's one of those. Not getting engineers in their gyrocopters at the minute.
Yeah, well, that's it. Yeah, I mean, I think the Empire'd love one of these with an engineer in it instead of a war wagon. But you can't have everything.
Well, you can. They can take them as an ally.
Yeah, they could. Yeah, to be fair. I think the one thing I'd seen a lot of noise online was how little shooting there is in the army. Which there isn't a lot, but then when you think about what the shooting they do have can do serious damage, then it's kind of probably we don't have the J crossbowmen and stuff like that, which are in the game, which they don't have here. This thing has basically the repeater handguns, which are the iron hail guns, I believe they're called.
On them. Yeah, you've got the iron hail guns, which are on the back one in this picture, and then the crane guns on the
crane guns. So the crane guns are the essentially the Hochland long rifles, aren't they? Just with like stupid strength and damage or something like that, aren't they? Or they do 2 damage or something like that.
AP minus 2 armor bane 1 or something like that.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Remember that like the whole thing is Cathay is very like yin and yang, right? So it's not always you're not going to get an army that's very heavy shooting or very heavy. Like it's always about being perfectly balanced across the army.
So that's the way the game also plays as well. The Total War game is where you have to have kind of both of, like you've just said, Jack, both of the armies within your army to make them perform better. So I mean, I think there's 2 builds to this which I really like. So you can have the guys with the long guns, the crane guns, which he could be, to be fair, you could put your magistrate in there with your 5-up wards or whichever else you need in there. Sit him at the back of the board, seeing everything, just shooting the crane guns at 36 inches. And there'll be 5 shots with the crane guns. So it's 4 crew and 1 captain, plus then the magistrate, right?
Magistrate can't have a gun though, is the only problem.
But he doesn't have the gun, yeah. So it'd just be the 5 crew, right? That can shoot. So you've got 5 shots there. Basically, bolt throwers without throwing through. Which
give or take.
But I really like the other one, the Iron Hail ones, which, I mean, we said before we started recording, I didn't actually know it had Scout, but now I do. So I'm thinking I think you made a good point as well, Liam. One of the magic items you can cast Plague of Rust. Yeah, so you scout this thing up, sit there in the middle. Granted, you're not going to go first, but you just sit there and just shoot your guns all day because they ignore pretty much everything apart from long range. So they're going to be hitting on 4s, 5s mostly. Yeah. But they're D3 shots, I believe, each.
Yeah, or you can use Dragonfire bombs if you get within 9 inch.
Yeah.
And they're one shot each, but generate D3+1 hits for each one that hits.
Yeah.
So what's that? 5 guide, if they all hit, is 20 hits.
Yeah. If you max out.
Possible, yeah.
So you're not charging that thing anytime soon. And
yeah,
I've also
stand and shoot with that.
Well, I've just seen this one I'm going to get onto. I've just seen there. So the crane guns, not the crane guns, but the iron hail guns, you don't suffer any modifiers for shooting as well. So that as a shooting reaction.
Shooting, yeah.
Yeah. So you can either do that, but you're not going to, because you're going to throw the bombs, which are a quick shot anyway. So you're not going to charge it. And then I think, as we discussed offline, you can just run away anyway. Just get out of there.
You're going to get charged.
Yeah.
Like, it's got 7 movements. You're unlikely to kill it in one turn. And it just goes, so you know what? I don't fancy a bit of that. I'll just move out the way.
Yeah. And I believe, does it have Swiss stride?
Don't think so.
No, that's a shame.
So I really think
you just fly over the top of whatever charge you, and
you just go. You go the opposite way, don't you? You don't actually go towards them, really.
Well, no, you could. You just go
towards them.
Just jump over straight over.
Jump
over.
Cool.
Yeah. You have to waste a turn turning around, and then I'll have moved by the turn back around. And
I mean, it's a gorgeous model as well.
I think it's brought something different to the game. Like it's this bigger block or bigger base that is not indestructible, but people are going to still take it out in one go.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Like, how do you kill, unless you've got significant like cannon fire or something in your army, there's gonna be, or a lot of magic missiles. It's gonna be tough to get rid of. Like,
10 wounds, toughness 5, potentially.
Just like physically getting hold of it to fight with it is just gonna be so hard.
Yeah. I think it's dangerous. Like, kind of opponent probably would be Cathay again. You've just got 2 or 3 cannons shooting at it.
Or Empire gun line.
Or Empire, Nuln list maybe. But again, I mean, we've all seen the model now as well. It is nice. It's a beautiful centerpiece model as well. Probably a pain in the backside to transport. In fact, not probably. It will be a pain in the backside to transport.
Yeah, I wonder if you'll see people using those the something airships, the dwarf, the AOS.
The Caradron.
Yeah, the Caradron airship. You'll see people using them like as a less risky, top heavy.
I have seen a 3D print one. What a guy did, which had like the smaller, rounder Chinese lanterns.
Yeah.
Had like 4 of them on it. That looked really cool, and was just like a junk ship underneath, which looked really cool.
I think there'll be lots of play of sort of
absolutely
seeing people do their own thing with these sort of things. Which be really cool.
It's the amount of shooting it can do. What I didn't think it would do originally. I'm really impressed with it, so I probably will pick up another one.
Even if you take that just basic 130, 135 point like version of a crane guns, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Considering like a unit of 10 Empire handgunners or equivalent like Elven archers.
Yeah.
That should back like 100 points.
Yeah.
Give or take.
Yeah.
We're saying it's half the amount of shots, but at least the same ballistic skill, if not better. It's a better gun.
What slot is it?
And it's far harder to kill. So it is rare natively.
Rare.
Or if your general is a magister, you can take one as a special choice.
Okay.
So you can fit 3 comfortably.
And then you can have hero versions of it as well. I mean, so you could get 5, 6 in a list reality, but that's 500 quid's worth of balloons.
It's the new gyrocopter list, isn't it?
Yeah, so I think that's where you'll start to see people, doing their own hobby when they're like, oh, I could, it might cost me £400 to get 5 of those.
But I'm going to spam this.
So actually, I'm going to sit down and make something myself, or look at alternative kits that could do a similar sort of role for half the price.
Many people suffer carrying 5 or 6 of them to every game they want to play.
Well, that's it, and it's then also the transporting of these things.
Yeah, many venues have rickety steps to sort of carry armies up, that sort of stuff.
I say I've never considered buying one of the premium tickets at Rob's event to stay on the same table all weekend.
Maybe one
Oh.
now, sit downstairs the whole weekend.
Yeah, that's it. It's either Broken Lantern or the extra 20. Yeah, and it's also got a new base size, hasn't it, as well? A brand new base size, which is 100 by 100. So it's a big,
Indeed.
chunky
okay.
square.
I hadn't seen the new base. So
Yeah, it's a
okay,
big
so it's not
chunky
quite
square.
as big as a undead dragon.
Yeah, it's like one down from that.
Cool.
I think that's the base the Sentinels on, isn't it? The zombie dragon type one.
Yeah, 100 by 150.
The Arachnarok base.
That's it. Yeah, that's my pick from the Cathay, Grand Cathay. Who's next? I hope it's not Jack.
Next is Jack.
Oh God,
I don't even know what did you choose. What did you choose for me?
Jack also said he hadn't looked at the book this morning, and then started reading it about 20 minutes before we started recording. So,
yeah, I couldn't believe some of the stuff I was reading. I missed a lot of the. Yeah, I was busy last week, so I missed a lot of. I saw all the chats popping off everywhere, and saw a lot of the highlights, but I hadn't got a chance to actually have a read yet of the book. So I had a quick gander, and some of the stuff in there is the fact that the dragon can just get D3 wounds back every turn, pretty much.
So what I would say on that, I mean,
it can't charge after it does it, right? So you will get sort of held up a little bit, but
do you know her name, Jack?
I think I do, but I don't want to say it and then be ridiculed for
absolutely butter it.
Yeah. So
go
on, Dan. You've got the heritage. You can.
Yeah, she's called Meow Ying, mate.
I thought it was.
Do you know what? I love the human version. That model is incredible. I'm not even bothered about the dragon. That model is incredible.
An infantry on 50 mil base is pretty interesting.
She'll slot nicely in a unit.
It'd be interesting to see how that progresses through the edition as well, whether we start to see more light heavy infantry on those bigger bases.
Just shows its room for it, doesn't it?
Yeah. Be interesting.
So she's heavy infantry, is she?
Yeah, heavy infantry. So it'd be interesting to see how that pairs with changes to how supporting attacks work and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And if your front rank suddenly starts getting filled by one or two characters, then the amount of attacks out of units is going to decrease even more than sort of we see now. So it'd be interesting.
Well, yeah, because she takes 2 ranks up, doesn't she, in a unit anyway? So yeah, you're probably right there with that. With all the supposed things that's coming through, but yeah, she's a lovely model. I mean, to be fair, the dragon's stunning as well. But
yeah, so I like this, and then I also like the Grand Strategist rule. I thought was a pretty cool new addition into the game, and obviously the balloon has sort of a similar style rule where I think it's if you win combat, you can basically decide to fall back in good order as the victor. And I just think bearing in mind, I can't see how many infantry blocks will be winning combat anytime. Well, given current rules, but maybe soon. But I think the sort of strategic tactics and sort of stuff that might introduce to the game, these sort of things. Oh, you think you've got something pinned in place, and then suddenly actually. Not only are you falling back in good order, they're falling back in good order, and there's suddenly up to 12 inches between you for the next turn. And I think it'd be really cool to see how people start implementing those tactics into the game. You suddenly have to start thinking, oh, do I have to put a blocker behind the unit in case they win, and then it'll force dangerous terrains on them when they fall back in good order. So they have to have the risk of do they do the full back in good order, or do they stay where they are and then they're still in range of me to get them the turn after? Or I think it'll just add some new cool complexities to the game. To continue to think about. I'm still getting my head around full back in good order and its intricacies in general. So to have to think about it on both sides at the same time is quite cool.
Yeah, it definitely adds another dimension to it all, doesn't it? Which is only a good thing. It's definitely not keeping making the game stale, is it? So love it.
I just do want to touch on that initial reaction of it can heal every time it transforms. And it's like, because of when it happens, and like you say, you can't charge. Whenever you go from human form to dragon form, you're effectively changing before you do any of your spells.
Yes, you
so you're now now you're a 500 point level 2 wizard who he's got a breath weapon. So it's
but it's points
over.
denial. There's 485 points that you're going to struggle to kill. I mean, there might be possible. So the match play, I think, says it's going to bring in the you score points if sort of monsters are below the wounds, the sort of the breakpoint wounds type thing. So I think this could be a really interesting tool where you think you're going to get the points for it, and then suddenly it heals up that last turn, gets back up over its sort of critical point, and you're like, crap! Like suddenly that's 250 points that you haven't got that you were banking on, which is now given the bigger score in brackets for draws to win sort of thing, that 250 points is actually quite a big deal.
Yeah, but at the same time, she's actually slightly more killable than most other dragons.
Yeah,
I'm going to say she's not
wounds,
killable, is she?
Wounds,
yeah.
Right. What saves is she? Because she's got full plate
4
armor,
or 5
has a
up?
dragon, and a 5 up.
Yeah. So you
can't stack those you can't get those triple stack saves.
Just thinking about what you said now as well, it'd be really interesting to see. I don't understand what would happen if you killed her in dragon form and then she reverts back to human form. So then she's only got the lower unit strength. So do you get no points?
I was just thinking that as well. So I was
are characters based unit strength on the wounds, or
no? It's on
she's still 7 wounds, so it'd just be 1 for being a
one unit strength. Yeah,
and she could have to get 2 or 3 wounds back from the respawn.
Yeah.
So interesting to see if you can suddenly sort of save those points by basically throwing her all out that last turn, get a shot off, and then spawn back as a person.
Exactly. But within that, the bit I wanted to pick was actually just that battalion box. I saw Ed at Close Order put a video out today or last night, and it was on about just how cheaply you can buy into the army if you really wanted to.
Yeah,
and it had a decent looking 2,000 point list from 2 of these Michigan Winlord.
So I was saying earlier, the price for it is just so good compared to what we were. Like, it's on par with existing armies, and it's a brand new army they've invested to get the plastic kits into and stuff. So I think we were all expecting it to come out a bit more expensive than it actually did. So
you put it into. If you break that down into, it's actually that picture you've got there, Liam, is probably perfect. So if you broke that down into AOS terms, you look at the unit of cavalry, which you get now in boxes of 5, probably set you back 35 to 40 quid a box.
Yeah.
Same with the infantry as well, 35 to 40 quid a box for 10 dudes. Yeah, a cannon, which is usually one box now. It's almost double, if not triple, the price if you convert it over to AOS 40k points money. So. Yeah, the value for money is ridiculous, and like you've just said, Jack, that it's completely brand new plastics, and they've kept to their kind of mantra of everything is going to be the same price within the old world, which is, kudos to GW. They didn't have to, but they have done.
Yeah.
So I don't think anyone could ever complain about just the price point in general. I just think for old world in general, I think the price point's very, very good. I mean, some of the boxes that get missed.
At least.
Yeah, well, I think the Wood Elf one and this one are probably the best 2, right?
Yeah.
In terms of value for money.
Beastmen and the Orcs one were a bit.
Orc ones, yeah.
Because I think that's because of the army, though, because of how much you need.
Yeah.
Whereas in these, it's like Liam said, that you can get 1,000 points probably out of all this, plus a Lord, then you're at your 1250, which is, even starter level tournament kind of.
Yeah, I think Liam said in his blog, like the champion in those infantry you could use as a hero. Like, it's such a cool model.
That model is so nice.
You could quite easily say, this, I'm using this as a hero. Give him a little bit, make him a little back banner or something, and like suddenly just to make him stand out a bit more. And quite easily get away with making him as a character and that sort of stuff. Although the characters are pretty cheap, even like point wise in the game, so it's not going to make you stretch points that much further because they're only like 45, 50 points or something ridiculous.
Yeah. I think this the Shigengans will need what, 220 bog standard before you
yeah.
buy anything else, and it's still really good anyway as it is. Before you start adding like levels and stuff like that onto wizardry
It
levels.
is. But Shugenga's one of the units that I always struggle to use. Not Shugenga specifically a unit that does more than one thing. I think I said this to you before, like something like Dwarf Rangers, where you've got crossbow, a throwing axe, and potentially a great weapon. Like, do I go and hit them with it? Do I shoot them with a crossbow? Do I try and annoy them?
Or do I wait till they charge me and throw axes at them or something?
Like, you're paying for something you're not using a lot of the times. Like, that's why you don't see many level 4s on dragons, because you don't get both of them to the maximum at the same time.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of the units in this army kind of do bits of that. Like the Jade Sentinel being the prime example. You've got this brilliantly casting wizard, and I've seen lists with people doing fireballs and pillars of fire and whatever, but then you're not using the 600 the strength 6, toughness 6,
the monster you want to get
big attack smashing monster, because you're walking forward to cast fireball, or not land it turn 1 because you want to cast pillar of fire and you want to recast pillar of fire later, or then you're in combat and you can't cast pillar of fire.
I mean, that thing should just be pure aggro anyway. Should it? Let's be honest. I mean, I think its attacks are like 3+2 D3 or something stupid like that with the
depending on which one you want to use.
Yeah, like
or it's
what
got
the
monster killer one, D3 wounds, monster killer.
Just go and hit something. It's literally a giant made of stone. Go and punch something with it. It shouldn't be casting spells.
No, but I do like the versatility of it. Like, being able to do.
It's good.
So many different things. I think it's just going to be one of those where you're sort of like, oh, how do I paint it? Because it's going to be difficult to.
So my intention was to paint it as a stone type that isn't in the book. So if I do like a marble one,
it's my sandstone.
Then it can be anything.
Or just sand. Just cover it in texture paint, Liam.
But you know when like you were 12 and playing with Space Marines? Blood Angels look like Blood Angels. Space Wolves look like Space Wolves. But my Rainbow Unicorn Knight can be anything one week and something else a different week.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, it's hard though, is it, to find? I mean, you could go like a limestone, maybe like a white, or like you say, marble.
Chalky,
I kind of want to try that technique with baby white, where you stretch them out a little bit.
Yeah.
So I might try that. Maybe not on my first
that
one,
look cool,
because I'm up against the time limit. But when I pick up my second one, which I inevitably will do at some point, then that's my temptation.
I think one special mention I will say about this battalion box as well, Liam, and you'll know because you've painted them, how nice the actual artillery and the crew are in terms of the actual models. Like, they're not just dudes holding a cannonball like the Empire ones are. They're just, like normal bodies. These are all like individually different, aren't they, as well? So like, you've got Mr. Miyagi there on the right of that cannon.
I still find it in the Goonhammer stuff. And on the guy here, so this one here is the only one that you duplicate up. This guy and this guy both got alternate poses, and the ogre's got 2 poses as well.
Oh well.
And
so they're not all the same then.
No, and because the ogre's got like a backpack and a non-backpacked version, you can alternate the arms the opposite way to the kit tells you to, and then have a backpack on the other one. So you can actually make 4 unique looking ogres from the battalion, where it's just an add-on to a unit, and that's just really well engineered from the workshop.
Yeah, that's great, isn't it? That's the thing. I think I'm trying to make everything look unique. Because I know that obviously they're not quite as like the old sculpts are, where you could just wobble the arms and the legs and the heads about. They're going to be in a certain way, but there's a little bit of room for arm movement, I believe, and bits of head movement and stuff. And
how do those ogres look ranked up next to Ogre Kingdom's ogres?
They're more. I don't know actually. My gut feeling is they look more ogre-like your ogre models, rather than the new Age of Sigmar, slightly thinner, taller ogres.
Yeah.
I'll see if I can grab one and make a
it's interesting. Just thinking forward, I'm like, well, are they similar sort of style? Does that mean they can bring back the classic ogres if they ever do, and these sort of still sort of relatively similar style, or have they branched away, suggesting maybe a new range, or
it's all that
again, we're still thinking
legacy stuff, isn't it? And different people hoping for different outcomes for each race in that category. Yeah, that was basically our one-stop shop for what we like about Cathay.
Everything.
Actually, I do want to just say one last thing as well. I'll make this point again in the Goonhammer stuff, but it's for such a small range on release. They've given the army multiple different play styles with the models that I've got. Like, there's nothing wrong with literally buying one of everything and making an army out of it. You are not a million miles away from a 2,000 point list with that. Or you could take 3 Sentinels, or 4 or 5 balloons, or a giant unit of Jade Lancers and Miao Ying. Like, there are multiple different ways to play it off 9 units and 1 main character. And it's like all of them are playable as well. It's like you look at Orc and Goblins, and they've got like 40 unit entries, of which I've probably seen 15 to 20 of them in tournaments. They've like really spent the time making sure that everything works.
Yeah, I did find it interesting though that the dragon's not been released in this initial phase.
We're always going to hold something back for that.
It seems like
when they break down the battalion.
Seems like the sort of flagship model.
That's sort of like
your main general in your army probably, and
if you didn't get her, you were going to not get either the Sentinel or the balloon, I imagine.
That's the thing, isn't it? Yeah, because of the point sync as well.
Yeah, it stops her dominating the army selection as well at the start. People can go and buy 2 Shigugans, 2 Magistrates on blimps, lanterns, and then from that build out. Like, if she'd been out at release, I might not have picked her up, but I still had X amount of money to spend. Whereas when she comes out in 2, 3, 4 months, whatever it is, for end of the year,
paychecks now,
I'm definitely picking her up at that point.
Well, that's it, innit? You've now got time to save, and I think one thing I think they were probably a bit conscious of is not necessarily. I think they wanted people to buy multiple of the battalion box. I know they did say originally it was limited and triggered everybody on the planet, but then they obviously quickly backtracked with that. But I think a lot of people have bought 2 boxes, 2 of the battalions if they can get hold of them. And I think with Miao Ying coming out first, I think you would only have ever bought 1 box, her, and like you said, maybe a Sentinel, maybe a balloon.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I think the other thing as well is because of the I think because of how quickly everything got leaked, or how early everything got leaked, people have already kind of built the list anyway, haven't they? Before pre-order,
before you could buy it. Before,
exactly. So I think that were probably best that she didn't come out now, because then everyone would just be putting her in.
Yeah.
But I think both we've had this conversation, haven't we, Liam, about 3D printing Miao Yings to use them.
I've said that's fine. Those appearing,
yeah, I've said it's fine. I know you're against it a little bit, but we'll see how many actually turn up.
One of the things where I kind of like, I have a printer, you can see it right there. Yeah. I'm not against 3D printing, but at the same time, if a model isn't on general release to people who don't want to go down the 3D printing route, I'm not sure people should be printing a model to fill that gap.
Any event at games at Warhammer World, there will be none of her in any Cathay armies, right, until the next release set. So if it's not being used at Games Workshop Central, then
See, that point I do agree with it, but then I've always had this.
But if it's in the journal, like,
well, no, my philosophy is I don't like telling people they can't use the models, and I'll always stick to that. I know that obviously, and if someone's gone and 3D printed it, painted it up and stuff like that, I mean, I'd be really annoyed if I'd sat and painted an army. Oh no, you can't use that now.
I get it from that side of the argument as well. I really do.
Yeah. So it's one of those, and I personally, I think, and you mentioned earlier, Liam, about my event in a couple of weeks or 3 weeks. I don't think we'll see it. I've got a feeling you're going to be the only one with the Cathay army because of obviously you had.
Definitely not going to be the only one with one there.
I can't see somebody painting a full Cathay army in 2 weeks.
Is your event fully painted?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
I can see some.
Take them 2 weeks to paint the balloon.
Yeah.
Or figure out how to transport it.
I think looking at them, like they look like they'll take contrast relatively well. There's just quite a bit of metallic, so it's.
I think I'm probably going to spray metallic on base coat, undercoat on it, and then go in with the colours. I
did black, but the only thing is, like, can I zoom in on this? No, I can't zoom in on it. But if on the guys, you've got like their under tunic on them, then they've got their studded leather armour on, which is trimmed with leather, and then you've got the robe and the sash and stuff on top of that. So it's built up like actual people clothes. So even though you say you could spray them silver, you've actually got 2 to 3 layers underneath that silver. Like maybe the horses, yes, but even then, you still got the horse underneath all of that, plus the horse's garments. Like you can see the front edge of them underneath on the ribbons, and leather here and leather on the neck. Like it's not. I don't think
it's definitely a contrast army, isn't it?
I don't know because there's so much like there's a lot of metallic there to
just purely contrast it.
To go contrast, like metallic when you contrast painting, metallic's the slow part of the paint. I find so like, which is why like dwarfs, I hated painting and knights, that sort of stuff, but hard work. So like looking at this, I'm like, oh yeah, like 75% 80 looks like it'd be a beautiful contrast, and then I'm like, oh, but actually I can see a lot of silver in there, and that. So then I'm like, oh, actually, like that's.
I picked up some of these last week. They're just paint pens, and my oldest had a school project had something to do with Romans. So I printed out a bunch of 28mm Roman models, and we built one of those what are called Tostitos.
Yeah,
is that what it is? The turtle shield formation.
All round shield.
Yeah, so we built one of them, and the idea was that I would print them out. I'd basically spray them red, and then he would use those to colour in the metals rather than painting. And they worked fantastically to the point where I started using them when he'd done on my Cathay army. So that my final highlight of the gold and the silver is both the paint pens, because it's just really super quick and effective.
And so how do you okay, so did that go over paint's good, and does it stay on? Does it stay on? Stay on good? Yeah.
It is literally acrylic paint in a pen. Like, I think I paid £6 for 2 gold and 2 silver. I could not recommend them enough.
That might be something I'll be looking into, because I like to paint quick, as you all know. And if something's making me quicker, that'd be even better, edge highlighting stuff.
And especially in the heat we had last week, where
I
don't have a wet palette, so it was drying up quicker when I could add water to it.
Yeah.
These don't. So,
and like I said, you don't have to thin them down. Like
exactly.
I suppose they're quite paint effective as well, aren't they? Because I know a lot of metallics now pretty much all of my metallics now are all 2 thin coats. So they're all obviously bottles, dropper bottles, and you always spray how much. Yeah. Whereas obviously your pen ones, you're literally using what you need.
Yeah.
Which is I'll probably actually get the link off you for them, Liam, because I will invest in those, because again it just seems a lot easier. And I think as well, I don't know about you guys, but when you are painting, do you feel a bit more in control when you're writing rather than painting? If that makes sense.
Definitely, because I'm more used to it. But
yeah,
I think I'm like, when I'm doing small models and I'm painting, my 2 hands hold a do-back to keep them steady. But with some of these bigger Cathay ones, like the base is too big that of them having to. And this solves that problem.
So how big's the tip? What's the sort
of? These are, I don't know. When I say point, does it say on it anywhere? This is brilliant podcasting. 0.7 millimeter.
Okay, so it's like, so it's going towards like biro size, or
they'll be a tad bigger. Than biro, but not by much. But I'm sure that they'll make. I literally bought the first set on Amazon, but I'm sure you can get
they'll make
ones.
fine liner ones, won't they? You'd have thought of sorts, or the extreme highlight pen. I bet it's called something like that.
I've seen them for ink wells as well, like ink pens for doing black in recesses.
Oh yeah, it's like doing the you spot it on and goes
on the Gundam lines kind of thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Do you know what? I keep looking at that stuff because I do like obviously all the anime stuff and that, and the Gundam things are like, they look really cool, but I just don't understand what the games people are playing with them. So I'm just like,
but I'm sure they say the same about us. So,
well, yeah, it's true.
Warhammer?
Yeah, what the hell's Warhammer?
So moving on, I think something that's got me very excited and interested is obviously there was the article around the sort of design of these and how, as it all came as part of the process of designing the army for Total War.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of other armies in there that they've had to do the designs for to get into Total War really excites me for future stuff. Like, people, obviously there's Kislev and that sort of stuff, but Fimir are making their way into the soon, and there's so many cool. You've got the Pirate Coast and the Vampire Coast and stuff like that. Like, that must excite you guys as well, right? That there's obviously there's already that source material which they've told us was the bulk of getting the design for these. They came up with the unit profiles for them all. Like, so that means theoretically they've got the same lined up for Kislev, Fimir, all the other factions on there that we haven't got on the tabletop yet. So like, it just makes me think, like, the next 5 years we should be, we could quite easily be seeing a lot of these other armies suddenly materializing onto the table.
I love the idea that there's a safe in the design studio somewhere with just a USB drive on it with Fimir and Pirate Coast 8th edition army list, like all of it, and it's obviously writing the rules takes time, but it's the models that are the
it's the design, isn't it?
And if they've already done the designs, they've already got the they've got the 3D models on the computers to sort of do the plastic, make the plastic molds of and that sort of stuff. Then in my head, the speed at which these sort of Cathay ones have been turned around, and they might well be a year into the next one already, or that sort of stuff. So it just gets me really hyped for seeing what's coming off.
What I'd like to see, because I recently played the Wood Elf campaign, is that they can get Zotes. So basically, crocodile men with big mallets.
Yeah,
basically Proxigor, I think, aren't they?
Fen beasts. There's all sorts of stuff like
I think Liam said in one of the previous podcasts as well about the Nausicaa actually getting a range.
Yeah,
that'd be amazing as well.
There's mammoths. There's
the ice chariots, the ice wolf chariots, and stuff like that.
And like obviously, and they've all got designs. They all have theoretically unit profiles somewhere hidden away. Yeah. Like, they're all theoretically just the click of a button in CAD to sort of spark out these casts and stuff, and a couple of £100,000 worth of investment, but
and the rest.
It's not just what can come; it's how long we've got to do it as well, isn't it? We're 18 months in. We've had our first new army. Like, do you want a new army every 18 months? Is that achievable?
Yes, I do. I want one every 6 months, Liam.
But so if it's 6 months, then you've got. I know you've come from a non-supported game into a supported game, but if it's every 6 months you get a new army, which is more than fanciful thinking, I think. Yeah. Then do we run out of ideas in 6 years? In 7 years? In 4? 3? 2? Or do you want one every 18 years and you're doing this till you retire? like Pete and AD sitting there playing 4 games of Warhammer a week.
Use the retirement well.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's what I want to do.
You're right. They've got the best life. No, you're right. I think going on with that as well, Jack. I think with them, I think they could do that, or they could bring, the legacy factions in, bring back the older model. Because the thing is, all of those armies all had models in Old World, didn't they? So, Warhammer Fantasy. So they could do that. Whether they will or not, don't know. Because again, people were saying about the lizard men. So obviously the Seraphon now, they all got new sculpts, stuff like that. They pretty much, they did. They killed off Bretonnians and Tomb King. So we know they've got the mold somewhere and the model somewhere. So there's a good scope that they could come back in the future. But yeah, it's like Liam says, how long do you wait? I'd love everything to come out straight away. But then, like you said, does the game then get stale? I think is the problem, isn't it? If it's everything's out.
Yeah, I think it depends how well they thought out this storyline and story for the for the system, and like I don't know for Age of Sigmar, that stuff, or Warhammer, like 40k has been going around for ages. Is there still a story being told there, or is it literally here's a new generic army?
So yeah, the idea is that 40k when it was, I don't know, I saw this in an interview somewhere. One might have been Jordan Saucy or something, a channel of that idea, and the idea was that they'd like when they wrote, I think who it was, Alicia or someone like that was on it talking, and he said we just throw something out there as an idea, and if enough of us around the table liked it, it'd get written as an idea, and it might get referenced once in 5 or 6 years, and then nowadays when they're trying to move the story forward, like someone who played the game when they were probably weren't even born when that thing was written, or were at school or whatever, they remember it, and then it becomes a story thread.
Yeah, I guess that's the interesting one.
And build on it, and that when they're writing the details for that thread, then they'll write something which in 10, 15 years time someone will come on and
I think that's
like a big tree.
That was the cool bit in one of the articles saying like how they've done that sort of deep dive into the mentions of the Cathay and forever history past to make sure all the T's crossed and the I's dotted sort of thing.
Because I think Cathay are they not the pretty much I know well the dragons anyway. The dragons are like one of the oldest living beings on the planet, aren't they? As well as the old ones. Yeah,
it predates the old ones.
Yeah.
So
they were the first essentially, weren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Before they obviously then start getting humans to worship them and whatnot.
Older than Collick's Sun Eater.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'd be more excited for? I know they've kind of curbed it with saying they're not bringing any stuff out yet, but when the other dragons come out, because obviously we know that there will be more because of what we said in the book, where it says Cathay and Dragon as a keyword, right?
Yeah.
Whenever that will be, is if they go into the ones where they're not in Total War, where they have got the 3D sculpts and stuff like that. So I think because there's obviously there's a couple mentioned in the game, like there's the Sea Dragon, there's the Fire Dragon, and there's the one that they're looking for, the little sister who's gone missing. Just hire Liam Neeson and then they're winning, aren't they? You know what I mean? So it'd be interesting to see if they ever did something along those lines, because obviously you've got the other two, the two lads.
They've mentioned, is it Zhao Mei or something like that? And I can't remember what the other one is.
Yeah,
and
it's Li Dao, which is the Fire Dragon. I think it's
he's not in Total War.
He's not, no. But his provinces are. His provinces aren't even. But they are in the old world.
Yes, I was going to say he's mentioned in the map in like, is it Yin Yin the Sea Dragons, the other one that's mentioned by name?
Yeah.
And they're not in Total War. So like you say,
it's one of those, isn't it, where
to see if they do go that route.
Who's kind of dictated the creative assembly, or is it GW? Who knows?
The thing is, like 40k is, even if you look at, say, take 40k from 7th or 8th edition onwards, there's 6 years, 6, 7, 8 years, or whatever it is, in that part now, and where they've taken the active decision to release Primarchs.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had 1 good one and 3, 4 bad ones. 4 bad ones. I
I
want to
think
say
there's 2 good ones in there. There's Lion and
Lion,
Gilliman.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we've done 6, so roughly one every year to 18 months.
Yeah, because all the
Even if
evil
we
ones are
say-
demon primarchs anyway, aren't they?
Yeah, so out of 6, what is it? There's 7 named dragon children that are alive and well, 1 missing.
1 dead.
So, yeah, there's 9. 2 are, we've said in one of the community articles, like not being touched, where lost legion kind of things.
Yeah.
1's dead and 1's missing. So we've got 5. Can I do math? Yeah. They've got 5 they could do.
5, yeah. It's about 5.
To
5.
do, yeah. Whichever 3 from Total War, the Fire Dragon and the Sea Dragon.
Yeah.
It's only one of them every 18 months to the next. That's still what, 8, 9 years of Dragon releases?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like be interesting to see what the projected life cycle of the old world is. You know, is it obviously when they sort of brought it out, maybe they thought it was like a 1 set of releases and they just give us 1 rule set and leave us with it. But given the scope increase and that sort of stuff, you know, is it now a 10-year project? Is it a 50-year project? Like, is it something they just see for perpetuity that it'll just continue to be supported, like I'm sure they do with 40k, that sort of stuff? So like, yeah, it'd be really just cool to get some insight into those sort of things to know, you know, if it's a 5-year project, then we can expect quite quick turnaround of a few things, but maybe not quite as in depth as we'd like. If it's 10 to 20 years, it's slightly slower pace, but you know, we might start to see more stuff than we would expect and that sort of stuff. So yeah.
While a game is selling, no company's ever going to turn down money.
Yeah, they're not going to change it.
No.
So I think we're stuck with it, for better or worse.
I do. I'm going to say I don't mind them adding stuff like I think so, like the Path to Glory stuff and things like that in AOS and the campaign books and stuff. I don't think it. I might get slapped for this, but I don't think the campaign stuff and things like that don't really belong in AOS. If that makes sense, because I just don't think it works. Because I think the best way to play AOS is the competitive side, because that's just basic the game. Where I think in Old World, I think you could release like narrative books, like we've seen in the Match Play Guide, which is, I mean, even in there's obviously the options what you can and can't do within tournaments. Sorry, what you can and can't do. There are options for what you can do within the within the book.
Yeah.
And I prefer that to something like, say, right, here's a general's handbook, for instance. Here's a season. This is what you have to do. Whereas that is like, well, you can play this mission. You may play with this. You may play with that. So you're also telling your own games. You know, you're telling your own story within the games. And then I wouldn't mind playing a campaign book. You know, if they brought. So I know that I think the what's the one that's just gone for pre-order? The RPG. Yeah. So that ties into the old world as well, right? Like your characters can, or your fluff can kind of go into the old world as well, which is what I do like.
Yeah, so, like, because obviously there's, you know, they made the Tamakan campaign, and only the first book ever got released. So like, there must be stuff that they could pull out of that and like recycle that to, you know, pull it back to the time frame now and, you know, change a few characters around. But like, there must be some cool stories and sort of games they designed for sort of pitch battles and that sort of stuff that could be recycled. That's, you know, there must be a treasure trove of stuff in there that is available for them to pull out of.
Oh, definitely. Like, there'll be, like, what was that Bretonian big hands guy who, that foot model came out of the Squire?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
the
two-handed sword guy.
The derby guy.
Yeah.
I'm sure there'll be loads of that kind of stuff around where they just get to do bits and bobs.
Yeah, I think
looking forward to it.
I think that the almost specialists, but like the smaller game studios do tend to do that. Like I think they did it in Middle Earth as well, where they released I forget who's the guy carrying the banner. Gamlin, is it? So the Rohan guy carrying the banner. The initial release was him just with the banner, and then the foot one with the banner. But then they also released him without the banner, which they've had obviously clearly for years. 'Cause that was an unreleased model, and like you've just said with the Bretonian guy, that was an unreleased model for whenever Bretonians were around, right?
Yeah.
And then they've re-released him, so they probably do have loads of, like you say, get a treasure trove of characters and stuff. And I think the kind of how they're doing the releases as well is very much like Middle Earth, where you've got your armies now, and they'll just spot release characters, like they have been doing, like, you know, the made to order stuff. And like we didn't have, so the first book was Bretonia. We didn't have Cecil until about a month ago. So I think it's a good. I like it, me personally, because not everyone uses the name characters obviously in this, but having that option there.
I just want them to drop us a Monsters Arcanum, give us 20 cool new monsters. Like, I just want it all now. Like, I'm just a giddy kid in a sweet store still. Yeah, just the joy, the excitement and joys of being in a supported game where there's just, you know, new stuff. Like, I went into 8 when it was all dead. Every model was available that was out. Well, you know, that was still around and ridiculously expensive on eBay, that sort of stuff. But like, I could just buy stuff, and, you know, I'd see something in the book and go, oh yes, I want that, order it on eBay. Whereas like this stuff, I'm just like, oh, like, just come on.
I mean, 8th is dead, mate. It's just you that still plays it.
Yeah, I've got my tournament this time next month.
Yeah, and to be fair, I mean, I've still got my 8th ed rulebook upstairs in the loft, so could always just get it down and have a gander one day. The thing is, because when we first started playing Old World, I was still remembering the 8th ed rules as well, so he's probably going to go back the other way. I'm going to be going, oh no, you can't do that. What do you mean you can't fall back in good order?
No, I found that.
What do you mean I'm just dead?
The old 8th edition game, like, but how far can you charge? Like, you just hit me from the other side of the board. What is going on?
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if we want to touch on the match. We've talked about it a little bit, but do you want to touch on sort of a few highlights from the match play guide?
This thing right
I
here.
put a little next time on it, so
okay.
I think
so
we touch on it, but
we can touch on
what I don't want to do
a little bit. Touch the screen. Everyone touch the screen.
What I'd like us to do before we actually put out a video talking about it, I'd like us to play a couple of games.
Use it.
And actually have a feel of what it feels like playing a different kind of Warhammer.
Yeah, so I've got Rob's event first weekend of July, which is using it. So that's a 2,600 point event, which we'll be using match play missions and scenarios and the secret missions and that sort of stuff.
I think you've got a spreadsheet to take with you, because it's got everything in every single mission.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to take
a
little whiteboard. I'm gonna take a whiteboard.
We had a little discussion about this, and I think fair play to Robbie, wants to try everything. No, nothing knocking him at all. I just think for the first time it's out, putting everything in there in the pack is very, very brave for people to try and understand. I am not calling anybody stupid by no means, but I think it is a lot to play the game, worry about your baggage train, worry about your domination, worry about your objectives, and then worry about your secret mission.
Yeah, to be fair, like even just like the breakpoint mission currently, I'm like, I get to the end of the game and be like, oh, I forgot to do the breakpoints.
So stuff like that. Yeah.
There will be a lot of admin, so it'll be interesting to see how the length of games is impacted. I know a lot of these are they like roll after turn 5, and if your dice add up to 10 or something like that, the game ends. So
there's random game length, there's breakpoints which can end the game early as well.
So it'd be interesting to to see how that varies.
I don't know if you. I mean, Jack, I don't know if you play Middle Earth, but I know me and Liam have dabbled. There's a lot of similarities between the Old World and the Middle Earth match play guides, which are very, very similar in the way they work. Like, you've got your missions and stuff like that, but then like the breakpoints stuff like that is a thing in obviously Middle Earth.
Mm-hmm.
If you reach a certain point, you know that's
run away.
The game ends and stuff like that. Yeah, so there's a lot of similarities in between, which is quite nice for me, because I play both games. So
yeah, so if you went to a Middle Earth event, would every game have missions and
yeah? So you'd have
secondary objectives and that sort of stuff.
Is it 24 now? can't remember. I think they might is either 12 or 24 in the match play guide, and you get there's obviously the mission. Then it's got within itself, it's got its own mission and stuff like that, and then random deployments and slay the warlord and all that kind of stuff as well. But then the main fundamentals of the game is to break your opponent's army, which is killing more models and half. Half, and then 25% the game ends because there's no end time on Middle Earth. That's the only thing. You can have 1,000 turns if you're terrible at rolling games, but rolling dice. Sorry. But yeah, no, I think we'll go into more match play. I'm actually hoping as well. We have a guest next week, so watch this space. But I will try and get us a guest on for that, a well-known guest as well. Just need to have it out with him and hopefully get him on. But yeah, I'm excited for this. I really am, without talking about anything else about it. But yeah, I hope you have a good weekend with that, Jack.
No, I'm excited to give it a go. Like, obviously, it will hopefully.
It's a change.
It'll hopefully we'll start to see armies that look like armies a bit more, maybe, unless people are just like, oh, I'll just kill I'll just stay, I'll just still take Triple Dragon and just kill everything on the other army so they can't score objectives. But Rob's running win-loss draw event, and then TPs is a secondary, so it doesn't matter if you come out with 4,000 tournament victory points because you've got all the objectives. Like, if you do kill your opponent, you could still win. So it'd be interesting to see whether there is a huge shift in army variants or whether people just stick with the tried and tested for now. I think I'm going to take Minotaur herd list just because I finally got my Beastman journal in hand. I've had fun pulling that baggage train together. I'll pull a few objectives together, and it's just something that I've been excited to try. I don't think it'll be the most competitive, but it starts to be like, oh, actually, it might not be the most competitive in current sort of gameplay, but who knows what's going to suddenly become good in this match play. If the FAQ drops in the next 2 weeks, that'll be in use as well. So that could have fundamental changes on what we're seeing, that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's just an interesting period at the minute to sort of see where the game state sort of evolves over the next 3 months, probably.
How many has Rob got a cut-off date for when that, if the FAQ art is released by? It's going to be really funny if you're playing day one on current rules.
I'd assume if it's like the Wednesday before, it'll get implemented. Like, because the list of missions are Thursdays, generally the Thursday before the event for Rob. So I presume if the FAQ's out pre-list submission, it will get used. If it's not, it won't. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens. And if suddenly people are running back to Old World Builder and starting from scratch again as stuff suddenly becomes useless.
That's the worry I'd have. Which is why I said he's very brave doing this on that weekend. I mean, he can't help the date because, as we know, Rob runs events every weekend anyway. But using this, the day of release, is very brave. But I'm just looking forward to
no one's going to have it to hand as a physical copy to.
Not unless they've got picked up that morning.
Well, like mine's what would GW mine usually arrives on the Monday or Tuesday after release. So like it's people aren't going to have it to hand to sort of go, oh, actually, what's that exactly? Or unless Rob's sort of managing to source a couple, then it's going to be a lot of what's this, what's that.
It's going to be very busy TOing, put it that way.
That's thing. There'll be there's lots of stuff for him to take a side on that he hasn't had to take a side on to date. So like there's suddenly 10, 20 new decisions he's having to make over that weekend as new things crop up, and it'd be interesting. But it's an event. It gets me out of the house, get rolling dice, and I'll get to use my mind tools finally.
I don't envy any TO running events over the next month, 6 weeks, while people try and work out how to play a potentially changed game with new scenarios, with secondaries, with secret missions, and a new army.
Yeah. So do you think in 6 months' time, most events will have 2 or 3 of the rounds will be say objective styles. There'll be 1 or 2 games which are just sort of stand-up rule book missions with no extras. Like
my gut feeling is that the rule book missions are effectively dead,
they're gone now,
and we'll use the match play missions, but there will be some that have secondaries in, some that don't. Like, I think when I start slowly and build up, but presuming you get into it, like 6 months, like maybe you're doing 2 or 3 or 2 missions where you've just got kill each other and maybe domination, give it a bit of something, or you've got 3 with, or maybe 1 or 2 with like a secondary, and maybe 1 or 2 with
a secret mission,
or with 2 secondaries. And then some events will do secret missions, some won't. I know the TC guys are
so the
secondaries.
So the secondaries you can have. So you could have the capture the train plus the objective mark. So they're all overlapping
so
as well.
Each one's got like 3. It's got suggestions of what they recommend to use in it.
Yeah.
Oh, so I just looked at them and thought it was like, either use this one or use this one or use this one. It's like
you says something like
you could use them.
Pick 1 or more of the following in these missions.
Oh, so it could be really hectic. Some of these when.
Well, this is what we said about Rob's event being very hectic because you're playing all of them, every mission.
Ooh, so in reality, you need like 10 scoring units to potentially be capturing, grabbing everything across the board.
Which obviously means that Death Stars aren't as good.
And you might start to see core taken actually above the 500 points.
500 point.
You might. So it's almost sort of saying, they could have changed it to a 50% minimum core as part of the match play to sort of
50%'s a lot, and it probably like my planned cafe list for 10th event is about 620 points of core.
Okay, so potentially
it's not loads of
33% core or something.
Yeah, like but most of my lists, unless I'm really being a try hard for a weekend, sit at 600 to 800 points of core, and I think that will continue.
Yeah,
it's just about keeping stuff safe where you can and picking the fights better, because people might obviously, like we say at the moment, a dragon flies into a unit of dudes for dead. It might take them 2 turns, but they're dead. Like, if the game changes enough that isn't a certainty, then maybe I've said it before, but like, as much as I don't watch Mounted Miniatures battle reports loads, actually his battle reports always look like Warhammer. Not like some of the games we see at events where it looks like you're playing Age of Sigmar or 40k.
Like 5 units.
Basically Mordheim. You've just got 5 models on the board.
Yeah.
And the most fun I've had playing this game has been when we've done it with ranked units and tried to play.
Yeah, the core hammer that you play is great. Yeah, it is. I think I'd love to be able to run an event like that. It's just trying to create the pack that it's not just
that's the thing. It's easy enough to say.
It's easy enough
to say you have to take 50% core, but like to make that actually play enjoyably on the table.
Yeah.
And maybe this match play gives you those tools to then be able to say, actually, if you need core to capture these points, which is, I think, the critical thing in there is that it's only core that can.
It's only on certain ones.
And only on certain ones, yeah.
Having that mix of scenarios, mix of secondaries, mix of everything in there makes writing a list a challenge. And
which is good.
Part of what I like.
Yeah, I'm with that as well.
A challenge.
That's it. We're all theory hammers, right?
We are, yeah.
We're sitting and tweaking our lists to we've got 3 points to spend. How do we? And then we suddenly, to try and spend that 3 points, we change our whole list.
They're trying to put shields on stuff and a spear, cavalry spear. But that's the best part about Old World, I think, is the list building, and it always has been. Like, I used to love even with 40k, just sitting in my bedroom writing lists. Used to love it, doing it, different combos and stuff like that. I don't think that's changed. Apart from now, we've obviously got the technology to write lists online. But yeah, no, I agree. I'd like to run a Core Hammer one, or at least play some Core Hammer games. But again, like Jack said, it's how much core do you put in there before it's.
Well, I'm hopeful
combats just don't go anywhere.
I'm hopeful the game makes it happen.
Yeah.
With this match play guide and any possible changes, and you end up with a scenario where you can just play with it and it looks right. And I mean, yes, it probably means everyone having to buy 2 blocks of infantry because no one owns any. But
me and Dan are covered. We're all right.
Yeah, I'm fine. Flagellants, 5,000 of them.
My 40 Bestigar are ready to run riot.
Oh yeah, Liam, I've got all them Ungo, aren't you? You love Ungo. Millions of Ungo raiders for days. One thing I do want to say before we finish, actually, quite an important one, actually. Congratulations, Jack.
3 times.
Well, we aren't. I'm saying congratulations to Jack. You got married, didn't you, mate, this week?
Did.
Or last week? This week? Yeah, well done. Honest man now, that's it.
Yeah.
All there was rings. All
yeah,
Lords of the Rings here. You'll be casting Hammerhand soon.
Yeah, that's why I couldn't afford to buy any Cathay.
That's your excuse. Yeah, I got married, so I could buy Cathay.
Yeah, no, we had a good day. It was one of those last week when it was super sunny, so it was a bit roasting in the suit. But sweated through it.
Yeah, well, mate. Glad you got through it.
Not get jilted up the aisle, so it's all good.
Great stuff. Yeah. So, like I say, I'll try and get someone on next week with us. But Jack, do you want to end us out, son?
Thanks. Yes. So, thank you. As usual, please like, share, subscribe. We're starting to try to use the Facebook page a little bit. We'll try to get better at keeping regular posting on there.
Yes.
But yeah, drop us some comments of things you might want to see us discuss. Like suggestions on content you might want. Do you want us to start doing some army showcases? Give us some ideas. Otherwise, we'll just continue to talk nonsense for the foreseeable future.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for your time, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
See you there, everyone. Bye-bye.